Join me in welcoming to the stage a true national leader advancing our cause, the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz.
I'm proud to be here with you today, proud to stand with you brothers and sisters for the work you do, not just for union members, but for all workers. I'm proud to now have the privilege of being the governor of Minnesota, but I come about speaking in front of you honestly. For several decades, I was a dues-paying union member, so I stood in the seats where you're at. Probably should be a few more of us as governors and members of Congress, but I have to tell you, in my first campaign for Congress, in a debate, my opponent came at me and said, "Tim is in the pocket of organized labor." And I popped back up, I said, "That is a damn lie. I am the pocket." And it seemed to me that if he was attacking me for standing up for collective bargaining, for fair wages, for safe working conditions, for apprenticeship programs, for health care, and for retirement, I'd roll the dice on that thing and see how it went, and it worked out pretty well. So, now, you don't get elected to Congress or governor as being a public school teacher, because you certainly have no damn money, and you're pretty busy in that classroom. But I'll tell you who did it, and there's a lot of these folks here. They're scattered around this room, and they came in with me. Dan McConnell and the Minnesota Building Trades were there with me from the very beginning, from the absolute start of when we did this. Now, they weren't with me because of my boyish good looks and magnetic personality. They were with me because we had shared values, that we cared about the same things, that we were there to work for working people and to see that the power of what we could do was something to see. Because everyone told us, oh, you get this union member, teacher, National Guard guy or whatever, he's got the unions walking with him in parades, good luck with that. Because there had been one other Democrat since 1892 in that congressional district, and we had a 12-year incumbent. But with the help of the building trades, we won that race. And we won that race as a means to an end. It's not about winning races so you can bank political capital for the next race. You win races so you can burn the hell out of that political capital to improve people's lives. That's what those folks know. That's what they knew. Now, I have to tell you, because we're good Minnesota Lutherans, we have a rule. If you do something good and talk about it, it no longer counts. So what you have to do is get someone else to talk about you. So thank you for that, Mr. President, for telling those things. But I'll tell you what, I'll talk about the building trades in Minnesota. Folks who not only do their job, but folks like you that put out the extra time to do the work necessary because you know what it means. And when we were able to win the election in Minnesota in 2022, where we weren't supposed to, we did something we hadn't done in decades and only a few times. We won a pro-union majority in the House and Senate and in this governor. Now, so we got to work. I know that some of you come from states that you have to spend all your time fighting back right-to-work legislation and playing goalie. Now, we're a hockey state, but it's bad politics for me. I'm not a hockey guy. I'm a football guy, and I like to go on offense. So I said, we're not going to play defense. We're not going to be satisfied for saying, oh, Minnesota will never be a right-to-work state. Well, that's a given. What Minnesota was going to do is strengthen our right to collectively bargain. That Minnesota was going to ban that practice of having those captive anti-union meetings. You go to jail now if you do that in Minnesota because you can't intimidate people. So, that's why those people walked in those parades. We have the strongest wage theft laws in the country, and we got an attorney general that enforces them. As you heard, we've passed the largest infrastructure acts in Minnesota. We've made sure that every single green energy job we're going to do is going to be a good union job to put that steel in the ground. We continue to run and run and run on making these things happen. And as you heard from President McGarvey, we had a hell of a partner in Joe Biden. Now, I don't know. I served in Congress up here, so someone asked me, I was back in D.C. today, do you miss being in Congress? I'd rather eat glass than be in Congress, I'm telling you. But we've got good partners. Those who are here are getting it done. And they come up with the dumbest damn names, IAJ and IRA. Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan got this right. Fix the damn roads. That's what that bill is. Just fix the roads, fix the bridges, expand out. And we saw more money come into Minnesota at any time in our history. A couple months ago, Joe Biden was up in Superior, Wisconsin. Those of you familiar with Superior and Duluth and the Great Lakes, and that's the terminus. That's the western edge of the St. Lawrence Seaway. It's an incredibly important place. And there's a bridge called the Blatnick Bridge that we've been talking for decades trying to fix. Joe Biden showed up a couple months ago and delivered $1 billion of the federal infrastructure money. We put in $400 million, Tony Evers put in $400 million, and we are going to have 3,000 construction jobs for the next 3 years rebuilding that bridge. That's good stuff. And Mr. President, you'll be glad to know the first thing I did was buy the biggest damn sign we could and said, this bridge is brought to you by Joe Biden and the folks who care about labor. You got a president who's willing to put his money where his mouth is, to walk the picket line and get things done. So look, I know and I see it, and I know your rank and file members. You hear it, I know it. I watched the Iron Range switch from solidly pro-labor area that will back folks to an area that's now a tough one politically on this. But look, you're nonpartisan. You'll support people who support labor. You've done it. And I know if you find a pro-labor Republican, the first thing you do is take a picture of them because it's like a damn Sasquatch. And the second thing is back them. Back them. We'll take anybody who wants to come on board. That's where you've been. Send them in. Look, I don't disagree with Republicans because they're Republicans. I disagree because they're wrong. And that's a big difference to make the case. And I get it that your rank and file members, they're not super excited. We keep hearing about this because the news tells us every damn day that the people aren't excited about it, so pretty soon they're not excited about it. But I hear your members say this, look, I'm just not into politics, just not into politics. And that's fair, that's their opinion, but it's my opinion to respond back to them. Too damn bad, politics is into you. So you better start figuring out what you're going to do, how you're going to make that happen. So I have to tell you, we have got to talk to our members. They can't be voting against their interests. I'll give you a free goddamn red hat if that's what it takes, and then vote for us on the things that get it. I don't care what it takes. You can fly a flag, do whatever you want to do. But the fact of the matter is, your members who tell you they're with you, and I had one of them try this, voted against this, voted against all the federal money, spends all the time criticizing the president, and wanted to show up for the ribbon cutting for that bridge. Hell no, you're not showing up for that bridge and cut. You're not showing up for that. No, no. So look, I have the privilege now of being the chair of the Democratic Governors Association. There's 23 of us. We represent the majority of Minnesotans. It wouldn't be any surprise to you, those are states strengthening labor laws, strengthening the middle class, expanding the right to collectively bargain, doing paid family and medical leave, making sure our kids have health care, making sure our schools. Hell, we did something in Minnesota, you'd think this would be, everybody's, oh, this is so exciting. You shouldn't get patted on the back for doing what you're supposed to do, but for Christ's sakes, we can at least feed our children. Our kids in Minnesota now get free breakfast and lunch. That's a good thing. They can eat. They can eat. But I'll tell you what the contrast is. I saw this week, the letter came out. Because of what our brothers and sisters, while not in the building trades, we'll still take them, our brothers and sisters down in Tennessee at the UAW said, no more of this crap, we're unionizing. We're going to get this done. No more. So what happened is 6 governors came out with a letter here a couple days ago in those states and threatened workers. And said, if you unionize, this is what's going to happen. Like that was something new. Oh, for Christ's sakes, they've been doing that since the beginning of time. It's what they do. But what we need to make sure is, if they're going to do that, you can be damn sure that my governors are going to put out a letter and say, we're going to support you in every way we can. We want you to organize. We want you to unionize. And we want you in our states. So look, you're here and you know it. And I know this is preaching to the choir, but the choir needs to sing. Now the time for the choir to sing. Elections have consequences. And if your members are struggling with this or whatever, and they make it personal, just be very clear. Just like in my first campaign, building trades weren't with me because of necessarily who I was or name. They were with me for our shared values. So don't vote for a person. Vote for what they stand for. And you're going to see it in this election that's very clear. Someone who stands for collective bargaining, someone who stands with unions, someone who stands for strengthening apprenticeship programs, someone who stands for project labor agreements, someone who's making sure prevailing wage matters, making sure health care is there, making sure our pensions are clear. So take the names off it. Quit worrying about, how old somebody is. Yeah, I'm sure Joe Biden wishes he was younger, but Donald Trump wishes he wasn't going to jail. So it's a wash. It's a wash. So vote for, vote your values, stand together, and I'll say this, if we do that, we truly are building the foundations for the future. Thank you all.